just gotta think of something wholesome.
Hello my darlings, and welcome to Reddit Rex, where I read books based on subreddits. I lurk. So today's subreddit of choice. So if you've been watching my series, you'll know that a lot of the books that I have been reading for this series have been pretty messed up based on the subreddits. Look, a lot of the places I go are not bright and happy and light, so I thought I'd change it up this time. And today's subreddit is Made Me Smile. This is a subreddit where people post things that will make you smile. It's wholesome, it's happy, it's supposed to be like a hug. So the books that would fit this subreddit are ones that are heartwarming, gentle, but also quietly profound. These are the books that will restore your faith in humanity, just enough to keep you going. They would be cozy without being cheesy, emotional without being manipulative. They would be the perfect antidote to doom scrolling and burnout. For me, the books that invoke those kinds of feelings are middle grade graphic fantasy novels. I'll put pictures up of some of my favorites. They do just restore my faith in humanity. The color palettes and the illustrations make my inner child smile with glee. Yes, they sometimes have some emotionally or fraught or tense moments, but overall, things work out and you feel like everything's going to be okay. They always make me feel better after having read them. As usual, I picked two books that I thought might fit this subreddit. The first of them being The Humans by Matt Haig. So in the story, an alien comes to Earth to assassinate a maths professor who discovered something that humans shouldn't have discovered. He exterminates the professor and then he assumes the now deceased professor's identity and sets about to erase all of the evidence that humans are actually smart enough to crack a cosmic code. And this means that he also, yes, does need to delete the humans that the professor might have told about it, including the professor's wife and son. Right before he's about to take out the final people, he gets distracted by crunchy peanut butter, poetry, and the confusing, illogical mess that is love. What starts as a hit job turns into a weirdly wholesome identity crisis featuring existential dread, dogs, and the discovery that humans are kinda okay. The main theme in this book is what it means to be human. Through alien eyes, we discover the beauty, absurdity, and contradictions of human nature. Love, pain, fear, hope, etc. Now on to my personal review of this book. I can see how a lot of people would find this very wholesome, and it would reaffirm that not all humanity is hot garbage, and there are a lot of reasons to live and appreciate our human existence. I can see that the book was trying to employ a lot of humor. I didn't really vibe with most of it. There was one line, I think, that read along the lines of Catholicism is for people who like gold leaf, Latin, and guilt, and that was kind of funny. And as usual with books, I've actually read quite a few books about sort of aliens coming to Earth and witnessing and observing human behavior. As usual, the narrator starts off really revolted by humans, their bodies, their emotions, their tendency to bleed and cry, but slowly we grow on them. They start to be enchanted by our messiness. The novel does mock the ridiculousness of being human, but also celebrates it too. However, I didn't like the main character. He is a legit murderer. He just comes and he starts taking out everybody that knows about this mathematical equation. And the thing is, they don't explain why humans possessing this knowledge is a bad thing. So I can't get behind the actions of this supposedly superior alien species because I don't know why what we've done is bad and why humans deserve to die rather than knowing what they know. Another thing, speaking of, we're meant to believe that this is a vastly superior alien species whose job is to protect the universe, and that includes protecting species from themselves. But this guy comes to Earth, assumes the guy's identity, and knows nothing about human culture and practices or even language. You're telling me that you didn't spend even an iota of time looking at us through an anthropological lens so that you could better assimilate and mimic a human? You just come in here with absolutely zero information and learning as you go. What sort of advanced intelligent species is literally just going to go in blind to an operation like this, where being covert and unnoticed is of the utmost importance. You would learn about the subject that you're meant to impersonate, even just a little bit. You would at least learn their language. You would at least learn some of the customs and the practices, so as not to draw attention to yourself, because straight out the gate, he doesn't understand that we need to wear clothes, and so he walks around naked. So I'm like, okay, that's just the tip of the iceberg with all of the plot holes in this story. As usual too with Matt Haig books, the biggest trigger is the taking of one's own life. And this one was actually quite full on with that. There is on-page attempts. So if that is a trigger for you, I would stay away from this. I think that too dials down a bit of the wholesomeness. I know it's trying to show you the light, the dark and the shadow parts of life so that you can appreciate the light more. But yeah, this one was a bit full on with that. I also thought how it approached sex to be problematic. So there are two examples of this here. One is infidelity. I'm never going to feel great about a book that contains infidelity. I'm never going to cheer for love in a relationship that contains infidelity, whether or not the alien didn't know that this was a bad thing or not. The second is the fact that you can't have consensual sex between someone and someone else wearing the meat suit of their husband. Just because you look like her husband, that does not make you her husband. And therefore, if she's having sex with you under the pretense and the assumption that you are the man that you killed, she didn't really consent to it, because the person inside is not the person that she married. So I was like, ooh, not cool. For me, that is grape. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but if I was married and then someone killed my husband and just assumed their form, I would not want to sleep with them. And if I did and found out later that my husband wasn't in there, I would feel extremely violated. That is not okay. That is not okay. So yeah, I don't know how I could find this book wholesome with all that stuff in there, but I can see why others do. It's basically filled with very self-help aphorisms, and judging by majority of the comments on Goodreads, people did find this to be a book that would definitely suit the themes of Made Me Smile. It just didn't really work for me. I didn't like it. The next book that I chose to read was Plain Jane and the Mermaid by Vera Brosgol. In this book, Jane's parents have died, and unless she finds a new husband, her slimy, predatory cousin will inherit everything and leave her destitute. The problem is that Jane is aggressively average.
If she was good, she wouldn't be so ugly.
But she wants a hot dude and a life of luxury, and so she makes a wedding bargain with the town's himbo. But before they can seal the deal with a mutually unenthusiastic handshake, a glamorous mermaid swoops in and kidnaps him. Rude. Now Jane must dive headfirst into an underwater rescue mission. Turns out the ocean is full of dazzling, magic, sinister sea creatures, and one very extra mermaid with a flair for the dramatic. Can a girl whose defining trait is beige outwit fish royalty and save a man who may or may not be worth the swim? The main theme in this, I would say, is one of self-worth versus societal labels. Jane has been told that she's plain her entire life and has thus internalized it. The story explores her journey toward seeing her own value, even when others don't. I would say at its heart, it's a story about redefining what it means to be enough. It's not about becoming the prettiest, the loudest, the most magical. It's about recognizing your own power, even if it looks quiet, awkward, and is wearing sensible, drab clothing. The color palette and the illustration style was very stylized and moody. So this one had a lot of blues, aquas, and eerie shadows which dominated the underwater scenes, while the muted earth tones dominated the human world, and it created a contrast between the realms, the sea versus the land, fantasy versus drab reality. There was a very sort of Tim Burton meets Slavic folklore fairy tale vibe. It was creepy, whimsical, and deadpan all at once. I thought this book was good. I do, like I said, have a soft spot for fantasy middle grade graphic novels, so I did like the illustration style and the color story. There were some characters I really liked. Unfortunately, Plain Jane did not win me over. She just wasn't a very good person. She made a lot of judgments of others as well. She didn't like that others were pigeonholing her and ignoring all of her other qualities, and yet she did the same thing to others, especially the himbo. Eventually, she overcomes that and she grows and she matures, but I still didn't, there's something about her that I just didn't vibe with. The best character for me was the Selkie, and I feel like Selkie could do better, bruh. I also liked the complexity with the mermaids. They were morally grey. They were neither good nor evil, although they did kill a lot of pretty boys in order to remain immortal. So I did like the darker elements in this. It just wasn't as heartwarming as I thought it was going to be, so I would needed to have bonded with the main character and her plight. But I was kind of rooting for the two sister mermaids more, and I was incredibly intrigued by the character of the crone in the village who assists Plain Jane on her quest to save her beautiful beau. But I can see how this would be absolutely feel good and heartwarming for most people who read it. It just didn't live up to the standards of the other middle grade fantasy graphic novels that I've read and have absolutely enamored with. So it had hard footsteps to follow in. Perhaps if I'd read this first before the others, I would have loved it more. But yeah, there was something about Plain Jane. I just felt like Plain Jane needed a bit more of a morally strong and likable character. So even though the two books I read I didn't find personally wholesome and heartwarming, I do believe that books don't have to be devastating to be meaningful. That books can be soft, kind, and emotionally nourishing, and sometimes that is the bravest thing a story can be. Please do share your favorite comfort reads down below, because I would like to collect a few. I sometimes read some really depraved things, and I think these sorts of books are great balms and replenishers in between to just patch the holes in your soul that some books perforate. Today's perfume is Mediterraneo by Carthusia. The notes in this are lemon, wild mint, eucalyptus, red thyme, bergamot, litsi cubeba, jasmine, wildflowers, cardamom, mandarin, and white musk. This smells like a sun-drenched stone villa overlooking the sea, where the herbs grow wild and the lemons are practically glowing. It's crisp, green, zesty, with a breezy soul. An olfactory vesper ride through Capri. The first impression that I got was literally as if someone had spring cleaned their Italian villa on a summer's day. So the book that I would pair with this perfume is Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, which is a youthful romantic adventure under the Italian sun. The notes of this perfume reflect the warmth and emotional growth that the character experiences along the way. It's fresh, bright, and full of Italian summer magic. Now for today's activities, I thought there's nothing more wholesome and heartwarming than finishing my winter hot chocolate quest, because I created it so as to find warmth and delight in what is otherwise a really hard, dreary, tiresome season for me. So there are only 2 more hot chocolates to try. One is a vegan hot chocolate, because I did want to represent a vegan option here in case you are vegan and you wanted to come to Melbourne and try hot chocolate. It is a s'mores one by Smith & Deli. And the final one, which I left until last because out of all of the hot chocolates that I wrote down to try, this one to me seemed the most likely to be up my alley in what I prefer a hot chocolate to be, and it's by JC Boulangerie in Richmond, and it looks unctuous and thick, and that dollop of cream is inviting. I'm hoping one of these takes out the lead. At the moment, Cocoa Black's plain hot chocolate is winning. If you watch my channel, you know my sister works for Cocoa Black, and she told me that she believes, non-biasly, that Cocoa Black is the best. And you'd think that, oh, I'd want it to win. No, I would prefer my sister wasn't right. I know that's a real toxic trait of me, but I was hoping I could be like, oh, actually, babes, yours is good, but this one's better. But at the moment, she's been right, and it has been the best in terms of thickness, taste, quality, and also price. The most expensive hot chocolate I tried, I think, was around $15, and it was so awful that after 2 sips, I threw it out, and that hurt to pay that much money for a drink and not like it. So look, yeah, Cocoa Black is sitting at an 8. So Smith & Deli, and JC Boulangerie, I have to get more than that to top it off. That being said, I did only try Cocoa Black's plain hot chocolate. They do have some other flavors, and they occasionally have seasonal flavors. So there could be another iteration of a Cocoa Black hot chocolate that I think is even better. And maybe I'll try one more just to make sure. But I think when I went to go, there were only 3. There was plain chili, which I can't do the chili, and salted caramel, but my sister did tell me the salted caramel tastes a bit artificial and she didn't recommend it, but she said that they have a hazelnut one sometimes, which is the best, better than the plain, and occasionally they'll do a themed one. I think she said that they did a creme brulee one once or something like that, and she says they're normally good. So I'll have to just pay one more visit to Cocoa Black. They're everywhere, and just see if they've got any other flavors to try. But yeah, we're doing 2 hot chocolate trips today, and we'll see who is crowned the winner. But I will say goodbye to you here and leave you with my hot chocolate adventures. Okay, I'm back, and it was a close one between Cocoa Black and JC Boulangerie. So JC has good consistency. The cream was great. However, it is $15 and you cannot take it away. You have to eat in. Hey Silks, hi. Oh, I went out. I smell like the outside world, yeah? Whereas with, I'm going to put this up. I'm too low. Hello, love you. Whereas with Cocoa Black, it's $8.50. They also have a great consistency. They don't have the cream, but they do give you a truffle. But that being said, I have not had one of their hot chocolates in their sit-down cafes, which I am going to do. I just got theirs takeaway. But yeah, the fact that it's almost half the price and you can take it away, I'm going to have to award the best hot chocolate in Melbourne to Cocoa Black. Yeah, my sister was right. My sister was right. She was right. So I am going to try to go to one of their cafe stores and see. I would really love to try their hazelnut hot chocolate because I think that would be my favorite out of all of their options. But yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Cocoa Black with JC Boulangerie second. And I can't quite remember who I gave the next highest rating to, but I'll put them up here as well. So they're my opinion for the best top 3 hot chocolates in Melbourne. If you are vegan, the Smith & Daly S'mores hot chocolate, pretty decent option. So that's everything, guys. Have a happy, wholesome, hot chocolatey day.
Like a big hug with words.